So perhaps a good way to begin, I trust you're all quite familiar with the Tibetan meditation practices, but here you are now in Kyoto, so I'll try to just cut right to the heart of the matter and very briefly not just describe, but go through it with you, what it is to sit in Zazen or seated Zen meditation. So very simply, first we get our body in order, and there's no way to learn that from a book or even for someone to tell you. You just have to test with your own body to see what works. I struggled for a long time and now can sit quite comfortably in full lotus, and there's a good reason for this posture. It opens up the hips, the back is naturally erect, and you can really stay focused and yet settled. So if you can, it's a very good posture to sit in, perhaps the best, but you can also sit in what's called half lotus or Burmese with both legs down. You can even sit in a chair, of course, but don't lean your back against the back of the chair. Try to keep your back naturally erect. We don't do a lot of rituals in Zen, so for example, the hands, we simply take the right hand and put it a little below the navel, the belly button, and then we take the fingers of the left hand and put them above the fingers of the right hand, and then the thumbs lightly touching right around where the belly button or the navel is, which is good for breathing with what we call the hara, or the tongue down. You can also just put the thumb of the right hand inside the hand, the left hand like this. This is a more informal posture in lay practice, or before the monks sit with a formal period with the bell ringing. They will sit like this, and then when the bell rings, they go like this. So this is the more formal half moon mudra. It's very helpful because of the, am I still mic'd? Yeah. It's very helpful because the breath is naturally moving down, and of course you're using your lungs to breathe, but it's as if you're using the muscles down here, the diaphragm, to extend the breath. Don't try to force it, but over time you'll see that it naturally becomes slower, deeper, and longer. If you try to force it, it won't work. So let me exaggerate now, okay? And then you just naturally breathe in. And it's as if you are exhausting yourself, letting everything go, especially with the out-breath. The focus tends to be here. There are many kinds of Buddhist meditation, the tip of the nose, the tip of the lips, many kinds. But in Zen meditation, we tend to focus here, which is the physical center of the body. For getting out of the head, endless thoughts and ideas and things. So it's very helpful to be settled in the tummy, the stomach. But you'll find as you really give yourself to the breathing, it's as if you're breathing to the ground itself. Don't get stuck in the stomach as some people do. They get stomach aches and headaches and everything. Down to the belly, and then just let it bottom out, as if you're breathing to the ground itself, and then you're breathing in the nutrients of the universe. So gradually the body comes to be settled. The breath comes to be settled. Then the most delicate point, of course, is the mind. how to settle the mind. But what you'll find is if you're sitting properly physically, this really is helpful. The body and the mind are not two entirely separate things. So if you get the body settled and then the breath settled, it's much easier to settle the mind. What do we settle it on? Again, Buddhist meditations, there's an incredible variety of meditation postures, meditation techniques, foci in meditation. In Zen meditation, in the beginning, you might say it's the breath itself. It's a very good entrance. Not thinking about the breath, oh, it's deep, it's shallow, but being one with the breath, inseparable. Again, not thinking about the breath, but being one with it. It's a very elegant technique, you see. We're not giving you a mantra, a mandala, or a Zen koan, or some religious principle. You're simply returning to what you need to be alive. Without the breath, you'd be dead. So we're not giving you anything to manipulate, but we're simply allowing the mind to return to what is always already here. You follow? Not a thought, not a profound idea or something, but to the physical breath itself. It's a very good entrance, huh?
You know, Maha, great, the mudra is very much the tools to discover, engage, and achieve. In another word, to achieve the perfections of the absolute nature, both in subject and object. The actual technique is very much in relation to the discovery of emptiness nature of phenomena, self and phenomena. As a Tibetan Buddhist, Tibetan Mahayanic Buddhist tradition, we base on the technique that Nagarjuna have used. Nagarjuna, Buddha Palita, Dharmakirti, Shandideva, Adisha. So these are the great Panditas who who exercise using those of some of the technique, like such as the knowledge of interdependent arising, taking as a reason to establish the emptiness of the phenomena itself, lacking inherent existence or the substantial existence, and using that wisdom as an object of one-pointedness, absorption, and simply exercising in that repeatedly, you come to a point gaining quality of wisdom, that which is union of simultaneously able to apprehend the object, both one-pointedness as well as analytical. Even though analysis is not needed, but it still carry seeing, all the characteristics, the wholeness of the characteristic, which sounds like in ordinary mind, the conceptual mind, you're going away from one-pointedness. But when you reach to that state of Mahamudra, without going away from one-pointedness, at the same time, you have this capability of wisdom, seeing the wholeness of the characteristic. Any phenomena has, inconceivable for our ordinary mind, the quality, the characteristic, which is inconceivable for our mind, our ordinary mind or conceptual mind. But for the wisdom reach up to that point, that inconceivable characteristic is conceivable in one moment, while not losing the one-pointed focus. Settling into the Mahamudra is very much one-pointedly, naturally making peace, or being in that absolute present, free from all the fabrications or like discursive thoughts, fabrications of all conceptualizations. And when you manage to sustain that without effort, then very much can claim you have achieved the result of the Mahamudra, which is again the same term we can use, the awakening state. And at the very beginning stage, as a training, very much within the conceptual capability, we can imitate, very much like imitate. And that imitation, or through repeating that exercise, regarded has carried the power to purify the obscurations or the defilements, like such as the ignorant, which obscuring for us to see the ultimate nature of the phenomena. And at the same time, it also helped to increase the merit. And because of the help of the merit and the purification taking place, that training eventually will result into a non-conceptual stage of realization. And that eventually will result into absolute, the benefit of even Dharmakaya. So this is one of the techniques that we apply.
A kind of intuition arises, for sure, especially as the discursive mind dissolves. When we give ourselves to the practice, it may take some time, but what we find is the discursive mind just dissolves after a while. It's not that we have to push it away, which is just another form of thought, actually. Trying to fight thinking with thinking. But actually by just giving ourselves to the immediate practice, the practice of a moment, especially, for example, in an intense retreat, you find that quite naturally the discursive mind starts to dissolve. You don't have to do anything with it. To do anything with it is already to play into it. It's just to try to manipulate it. In a sense, it's a profound symptom of the disease, you see? So, giving ourselves to the immediate practice, quite naturally, the discursive mind starts to dissolve. It may take some time. In the beginning, sometimes it seems like I'm sitting here, the thoughts may even seem to increase. But as you enter samadhi, a kind of concentrated oneness, again, the discursive thoughts dissolve of their own if you're practicing properly. If you try to fight with them, you're just increasing it. You follow? So, to just let them dissolve. But the point then is, what remains? What remains? It's important for the conceptual mind, discursive thought, to dissolve But that's far from the end of the matter, isn't it? What remains? Are there deep feelings and emotions that are coming up? For many people, not just Westerners, but for many people, there are things that need to be worked through before they can really give themselves fully to the practice. And this takes wisdom to see. We're not here for that, but sometimes you will see that something is preventing you from giving all of yourself. Well, what is it? Open up, see what it is. Finally, what remains? Finally, what remains is the urge to be, the ego self's urge to be, the very basic will to be someone, something, perhaps to be enlightened. You follow? So again, the thoughts are fairly easy to let go if you're practicing properly, but it's important then not just to dwell in this non-conceptual mind, but rather to see, okay, what remains all the way through. And what you'll find is what remains is that, if I may call it, the urge to be, to exist, to get better perhaps. First, sometimes very noble urges to want to become a better person. But until that very urge to be something, anything, even nothing, until that is undone, it's like a cat chasing its tail. We all know this, right? So that's the thoroughgoing nature of the practice. And that's what it's wonderful to be able to commune like this, because I know very little about the Tibetan tradition, but listening now to what Geshe is saying, it makes perfect sense. It's a different terminology, it's a different approach, but he's talking about the same thing. He's talking about the same thing. It's wonderful to commune and to appreciate that.